remediation work is done to clear it of any kind of environmental concerns that are here, and then rebuild everything in its entirety over on Big Bend Road. I just have a hard time with that, and a lot of what flows with that, and that kind of changes the whole capital project plan in my mind. So I would really have a very difficult time in supporting this the way that it is.
My feeling on the capital, I mean, if we buy the land and it sits there, suppose we don't do anything with that land, it just sits there, and we decide to come back here and go out in the park out here and cut down trees and build a DPW, and we add on to the firehouse, we do all the things that want to be done here, is that going to change our expenses that much? I mean, the building's going to cost the same whether it's over there or here. Adding on to this firehouse, putting sleeping quarters in here, putting in a generator and all that's going to cost the same here or over there. I just don't see the big issue whether we own that land over there or not. It's an asset. And if down the road we decide we're not building any of this stuff over there, it's still an asset. We can sell it, do whatever. It's not going to change our bottom line at all. One way or another, there's nothing said concrete that we're moving over there. Right now we're buying land. And people buy land all the time and speculate on it. I see no difference as to what the town's doing here with it. We're still going to have the same expenses building there or building here. The need is here. We need a building for the trucks somewhere, somehow, to put the equipment in to save the assets that we have here. We have investments in equipment. If we're going to leave them sit outside, they're going to deteriorate, as Jerry said, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I have all my equipment on my farm is inside, and for that very reason, if it sits outside, I'm losing valuable assets there in deterioration. So I really don't see any big change here one way or another, whether we buy land or we don't buy land. I don't think that's the issue. We're gonna build capital improvements here, either here or over there. One way or another, it's got that price isn't gonna change.
Mr. Chairman, what was the approximation from Angus and Young on the DPW and the firehouse expansion at this location, ballpark?
My recollection is, and that was 2 years ago, right? Was July of 17. My recollection was around $2.5 million. Is that yours?
That is mine.
So yeah, sure.
That's $2.5 million, and we got $4 million allocated for just the DPW building and the town hall in this plan here to build at the new location, and another 400,000, so that's 4.4 million versus the 2.5 that Angus Young thought that it would cost us to do here. So, I mean, that is a substantial price difference.
It is, but I mean, if you look at it in context, this is still functional, okay? But I mean, go look at the cornerstone out here. I mean, this building has been here for many years. I mean, it seems to me like it's but new. I mean, the standalone DPW building out there is plus 20 years old and so forth. If you did something completely new, would it cost more than doing something here? It might very well, but in my judgment, we'd get something that would be a whole lot better serving residents of the town of Waukesha that may be 40, 50, 60 years downstream. I mean, any of the things that we've looked at here, to me, to a certain measure, are simply Band-Aid solutions. That's my point of view. We don't have enough space back here to do anything decent in the terms of a public works facility. I mean, we've been talking about it for over 2 years, at least 3 members of the board. We've got 2 new people. I mean, some of this goes back to 2017. I mean, we've got a salt structure back there that was never approved by the town plan commission or the town board. It's over the property line. I mean, we can put thimbles full of salt in there, and that's about it. We haven't cracked that nut. We've got our yard waste thing back there that's simply what was left over from when people brought their garbage here decades ago and had a social event out of bringing their garbage and dumping it here. I mean, if you look at what you're getting for what you're doing, from my perspective, that's not even only undesirable, it's not even a safe situation to have the public driving through that yard back there, that we can't even secure things. I mean, the building back there that the sheriff's squad car is put in, and some of our other stuff, I mean, it served its better time. So that's my point of view.
So if we follow that point of view, how do we make up the $2.7 million shortfall? Do we raise taxes, go to referendum, borrow, or cut projects?
I guess that's a decision that the board could ultimately make. My perspective on this, at least as a place to start, would be to advance as quickly as we can the fire station project, okay? So that we can solve the solution of having sleeping quarters for the fire department. We can solve the solution to get our public works vehicles inside the building. And to me, that would depend. I mean, if you're asking me what I would do, I know it's asking a lot and painfully, but I would take some of these equipment purchases and I would push them downstream another year or two to try to save that money. I mean, if something is unsafe or it breaks down, there's nothing to prevent this board or any future board from making a budget amendment and purchasing something. Those are always alternatives. And I know that's asking a lot of the fire department and public works people, but if you're asking for my vision, I would basically move those things downstream a bit. I support, what's that?
To where? So which items?
To what year?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, just for sake of discussion purposes, I would, well, I guess if you're asking me for my part of it, I would move all of the equipment purchases for discussion purposes, I would move them at least 1 year downstream, okay? And I would actually even take the 2019-3, the $120,000, which, and that's a number I put in there, for architectural and engineering services for new fire station, I would move that up to 2020 and get going on that thing.
But that doesn't substantially change the fact that we're $2.7 million short.
Well, you are only when you get 5 years out or so on this. That's where you end up really short on it. And I mean,
just to be clear, in 2022, we're $1 million short. In 2023, we're 1.6 million short. And in 2024, we're 2.7 million short.
well, I guess go backwards on it. If you push some of these equipment things downstream, I don't think you're that much short.
So in
Would we want to talk about
2022
borrowing?
So in 2022, you would kick out the ambulance? Is that what I'm understanding you to say?
Perhaps, yes.
Okay.
Perhaps.
Okay, so I just want to follow the train of thought so that I can track it in my own mind. So if we kick out the $230,000 for item 2015-10 from 2022 to 2023, that only gets us to a deficit in 2022 of $900,000, and it makes our deficit in 2023 $1.8 million instead of $1.673 million.
Well,
I don't see how that fixes anything.
okay, I guess what I'm telling you, some of these things, if you're asking my opinion, and how can I put it this way? I would like to suggest to some of you to put up your own constructive proposals. I mean, I'm sitting here, and I know it's not a desirable thing to do, but the bucket truck, I mean, we talked about some of those things. If that is still capable of being certified and that type of thing, I'd probably move that out a couple of years, okay? I'd probably do the same thing with the chipper.
So
And
if you're
again, if we end up in a
looking for-
situation,
If you're looking for others to contribute, what I would do is I would scrap the land purchase, I would build on this facility, I would go back to the Angus and Young proposal and understand where we could make cuts there to make it more cost effective. That's what I would do.
okay, well, I would not, and that's
Okay,
fine.
Well, there we go.
There we go. Who else wants to weigh in? Do we want to go down these item by item? Would that be an appropriate thing to do? I mean, anybody else jump in if you want. If not, we can go down these item by item and see what the consensus is to leave them where they are or move them. Do we want to do that? Go one by one? What's that?
You're the chairman.
It's a workshop. I don't have any different voice here than anybody else. Speak up. There's 5 of us. This is a workshop.
Well, again, I'll go back to the whole land purchase part of it. In reference to Supervisor Stigler's comments, that all it is just a land purchase, but it's not. Everything on here of the big ticket items goes back to the whole land purchase. If we don't do the land purchase, it changes the whole mix-up. So if we're gonna do that, and we're outvoted on it, then I guess you gotta go ahead with it. But I can't support the land purchase or the rebuilding of this entire town hall onto a new piece of property, which changes the whole perspective on this. So to change just a few things and chop $60,000 out of the DPW department each year and push ambulances out from 2015 to now 2023, where we've heard about that and the issues that it causes, is just kind of fooling ourselves in the reality of building this grand Taj Mahal that then leaves us a vacant piece of land here 8 years down the road. So that's my opinion, and if you guys want to go through the exercise of saying, what else can you push off to make that dream happen, then I guess go for it, but I can't support that.
You want to go line by line, gentlemen, or anybody else want to weigh in? What do you want to do?
For the sake of moving forward, let's go line by line.
Okay. 2019-1. Leave it where it is, scratch it, move it?
Scratch it.
Scratch it.
I say leave it where it is.
I say leave it at this point.
Everything on this whole thing is riding on these 2 pieces of land. For right now, I would leave it.
Okay, so that's leave it. We can double back to these, but for now, let's leave it. 2019-2.
Scratch it.
Scratch it.
Leave it.
Leave it.
Leave it.
Okay. 2015-9.
Chief, is that really 150,000, or is 100 gonna, is 100 gonna get you what you need?
The ones that we've seen purchased have landed between.
Just so others can hear, can you step up, please? Thank you. Others at home, we can all hear you here, but.
Yeah. The others that we've seen around the state that have been purchased have gone between 145 and 175. I think at 150, I'm still aiming towards the low end, but I think it'll get the job done.
Is it really what we need? How many grass fires do we do a year?
The thing is, with this new system, it becomes multi-purpose, so it'll be available for hazmat decontamination. It'll be available for quick in-out fires when we have limited personnel. It can suffice for a car fire if we need to, potentially, things like that as well. So we're moving from a single-purpose vehicle to more of a multi-purpose vehicle as well.
I'm gonna leave it.
I'll leave
Chief,
it.
even if we did push it, you're only talking a year or 2, right? You can't go much beyond that.
Yeah, it's a 1987 right now, and it's tired.
And it's been in the capital plan since 2015, one of the early items. I'd be inclined to leave it based on the chief's recommendations.
I'd leave that also.
Yeah, I'll leave it also.
Okay. That's 5 to leave that where it is.
A consensus.
How about that? Life's good. Twenty 15-10.
Chief, that's 1651, the ambulance, to push it out to 2022, is that realistic?
It's a 2003 ambulance. The technology in that ambulance is already obsolete. Yeah, you can push it out, but it's just going to be that much more difficult for folks to use.
That's not the Dickeyville ambulance, that's the 1652.
1652 is the
Dickeyville.
2008, correct?
Okay.
So would you recommend leaving it in 2020 as it was, or push it to 2022?
I'd recommend leaving it in 2020. I originally had it in
2015.
exactly.
Seems like a pretty key piece to the fire department. I would be inclined to leave it in 2020.
That's probably the most used vehicle we have.
That's more than the Dickeyville ambulance?
Yeah.
Just for grins, why is that more used than the Dickeyville ambulance?
Typically, it's the first one out for the most part.
Okay. I'll suggest moving that to 2021, at least for discussion purposes.
We got one for 2020,
That's
one for
2015-10 for discussion purposes to move it back a year to 2021.
I guess I would support that also. I kind of like to see it sooner than later. The ambulance, like we said, is obviously the most used piece of equipment on the fire department. It's pretty much saves lives, in my opinion, if they've heart attacks, whatever it needs to be used for. So I guess I would prefer to have a newer vehicle than what would you say it was, 2002, 3? Yeah, it's getting up there in age.
And you started at 2015 with this on?
It was in the long-range plans for, it wasn't to be replaced in 2015, it was in the long-range plans, though.
It was in the long-range plan for 2020, is that right?
Yeah.
It was put in 15 in the long-range plan for 2020.
Actually, it was originally put in the 2015 plan for 2018.
For 2018? Okay. Okay, that's corrected, 2018.
So I'm
What's the
just,
pleasure?
Supervisor Stigler, I've got, I'm not sure where to put you. I've got one at 2020, one at 2021. Where were you?
21.
Rest of you guys, what do you want to do?
I'll do 2021, but I don't think you can wait much more than that.
Okay, 2016-1, the Dickeyville ambulance is now in 2024. It's the pleasure of the group for that.
My question is, how much do you use that ambulance? Okay, thank you.
You want to come up to the microphone, Dan, just because we're doing this on YouTube and everything, if you wouldn't mind, please?
That truck gets used about 25% less of the time than 51 does, and we could live with that to be in 2024.
Okay, so we're going to leave it there?
Yes, in my opinion, leave it there.
Okay, 2015-5, replace 1676 command vehicle SUV. What's the pleasure on that? Your system's working.
Can I ask Dan what that SUV, I mean, what is that command vehicle? Is that the big box bread truck, as I call it? But
Yes.
is that what, and they're gonna replace it with the identical thing, or what is the?
No, the intent was that we were going to combine that truck into a rescue engine when we replaced the engines, that we'd combine those two trucks together for the equipment purposes, and then replace that truck with like a suburban type vehicle for the command center and communications and such.
So if you replace that this year, or 2020, we can't push 1667 out then?
Well, that's what I had said before. If we do what's on here, then you're gonna maintain the old command truck yet for another 3 years along with the new vehicle. Those kind of go together.
Hand in hand.
That was the plan.
So you're not getting rid of something?
Not right away, no.
Okay.
Not until the engine gets replaced, then you can get rid of the old vehicle, the old 76.
What's the pleasure?
So then why wouldn't we take the $78,000 in 2020 and move it into the same year as, whatever year the year is, as the 1667 engine replacement?
That's how I thought the process was going to go.
Right, okay. Want to make sure I was on the same page here. So in theory, we could move 2015-5, $78,000 from 2020 to 2023.
Or I would think of moving them somewhere in the middle between there.
I imagine you'd prefer that we move 2015-17 back the other way.
That's it for sure.
Yes.
Okay, what's the advantage of buying it now if you can't really utilize it until you get the other engine replaced?
This was a
So this is really a
Presentation.
financial thing, in other words?
This was a presentation that came out in July, and we kind of rolled with it.
Hey, we got a
We're trying
place-
to be flexible. I understand you don't have enough money to go around. We're trying to be flexible.
If we buy that, have we got a place to put it? Room in the garage, we gotta double something up, or where does it go?
We would double something up somehow.
Could make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand why we wouldn't move this out to 2023. Or to 2022 at least, and then do one, the end of 2022, and then engage the engine in 2023. I mean, theoretically, you could just make those 2 or 3 months apart. You could order your engine in August, September of 2022 for delivery in 2023.
Yeah, it's gonna take a year to build an engine,
Right.
where the other vehicle would be 3 to 6 months.
So I guess my proposal would be to move it to 2022.
I'll go with that.
I'll support that also.
I'm on board with that myself. I kind of, makes more sense to put them together than spread them that far apart.
Rest of you guys?
Jim, you're in on that?
Well, it was slated for 23, but if you want to move it up a year, which seems odd, that's fine.
So
Well,
you-
I'm trying to balance the money in accordance with, even though one is in one year and the other is in the other, you could time the delivery so that they're, you know, within the same, just a couple months apart.
Yeah, but if I'm understanding what the chief's saying, it really wasn't supposed to be in 2020. It should have just been in the same year as the engine, which
Okay?
it was there because the engine originally was in 2020, but got pushed to 2023 because it can be certified now until then, right?
Yeah, well, it isn't certified. We don't certify the engines. They pump test them. NFPA said used to say that you replace them after 20 years. Now they've said it's a recommendation.
So you want to move it to 2023, Jim?
That's where it's placed. I don't see a reason why we would want to move it up.
No, we're talking about, the 2015-5.
Yeah, but originally they were together,
Right.
and the engine got moved without the command vehicle, so I would keep them both together in the same year,
Okay.
2023.
I can go with that. Anybody else?
I'm fine with that also.
Okay. So the engine stays in 2023? Is everybody on board with that? Okay, 2019-3, new fire station over on the new land. Again, I put those numbers in there. That was intended to be money for design services in 2021. And that's what $120,000 is for. I would like to suggest a portion of that be moved to 2020, not less than $40,000. So at least we could retain somebody to do some preliminary planning and cost estimating. My request or recommendation would be to take the 120 that's in 2021 and split it 40 in 2020 and 80 in 2021.
Well, I'll be the same as I was on the other two that go with it, 2019-1 and 2019-2. I don't support it at all, and it should be scrapped.
Fair enough.
I'm on that page.
Okay.
I'm good with what the chairman proposed.
The 40 and 80?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
2 to 2. David, it's up to you.
I'll stick with the 40 and 80 also.
Okay. (2019-4).
Scrap it.
Okay,
Scrap it.
1 to scrap, 2 to scrap. I'm a keeper.
Keep it.
So, do we know ballpark what the city spent on the Highway 59
Mhm.
facility?
Yep,
What was that?
about 3.5.
Okay. And do we know, this is a little more of a reach, but what about the one over on 18?
The one out on Summit?
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? I don't remember exactly. Again, my
Okay.
firm did the architecture engineering stuff. The one on, the latest one over on 59 there, I think was about 3.5. That has a sheriff's department substation component in it that's, don't hold me to it, a quarter of the building on the west end of the building roughly.
Okay.
David, I
Keep
guess
it.
we're at the last place. You're a keep on that? Okay. Okay, roads,
So
2019 what?
So if
I'm
we
sorry.
just go through what, the first two that you went through, so we've got, general government at 347,800, and then, we have fire department, 2019, 190,000, 2020, 190,000,
Right.
2021, I've got 310,000, 2022, I have, 2,400,000, and 2023, 828,000, and then 230,000 for 2014 for fire.
Sounds right?
Okay.
That's the math.
Just want to make sure I get
Okay,
you
roads,
updated.
Do we know?
We
I'm sorry,
decided
go
that
ahead.
we're gonna go with a flat number for that. I don't support 200,000, I think that's too weak, and we're fooling ourselves, but, you know, if that's the pleasure of the board, that we're gonna just go with a number. I think it should be more realistic to at least the roads that we have outlined under each year, which appears to be about 250,000, at least in 2020.
Thank you. I have a question, and I don't know whether we can answer it, and maybe Jerry can, or Kathy can, or somebody, but we are yet to receive or in progress the Pazer Road rating, is that right?
Right. We're in the process. They're doing it now. We should have it by the end of the month.
And I guess leaving aside the discussion about the amount of money, I mean, that is somebody's, I mean, simplistically objective analysis of the condition of the road. I mean, that's a bit crude.
That's correct.
Is that a fair thing? And I guess I would like to know, even if we go with this lump sum part of it, I would like to know of all of these, I don't know, how many are on here? 20 roughly? Roads, something like that, give or take. I would like to know, we probably don't have that information tonight, but I would like to know when they rate those, what the Pazer ratings on those roads are, and wouldn't we use that part of a consideration or a determinant as to when we need to repave? I understand that's a little bit apart from this discussion, but wouldn't that be useful information to the board as to what somebody's objective rating or condition of those roads is?
Absolutely, and before it was put on the capital, these were put on the capital budget last year. The Pazer rating was with each one of these. They were just taken off during, once the plan was finalized.
And maybe that's not for tonight, but maybe Kathy, maybe that's some information you could bring back to us and basically
Absolutely.
say, here, these roads in the rating, and that is done annually?
Yes, it is.
Is that correct? Basically, okay, in 2019, here are the roads that had a Pazer rating of ba-dump, list them, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I would think that would be useful information for us to consider. Those are somewhat subjective decisions, but at a certain point in time, this town board or a future one might say, any road that has a Pazer rating of whatever, and draw the line as a place on which we ought to look at repaving. We're not going to resolve that tonight, but I think that'd be useful to look at, be another perspective. I mean, I look at a couple of these, and I would just toss something in. I know this is way down the line, but 2015-25, the Broadway service drive. I mean, that's only $10,605. I mean, that's over in my neighborhood where I live. I mean, there can't be, what, 8-10 trips or something on that a day, and I realize that's pushed down to 22. I mean, I wouldn't consider that a high priority.
Right.
And
So
that's just one.
If you look at the
point of view.
screen, I have up the 2017 Pazer ratings for each of our roads, each section of road within the town. So as it goes from the beginning of the road to the end of each road. So you would be able to, I'd be able to definitely just put the Pazer ratings for all the roads. When Jerry and I do a plan for roads, we would bring that forward to you. The Pazer ratings would be part of that plan.
Okay,
And we'll use the updated ones that are getting done currently.
good.
I'd like to see the road budget a lot higher also. Roads everywhere are deteriorating, but I think we could also do a lot of cutting. We don't need to be doing cul-de-sacs or courts when we could chip seal them or have Jerry do some patching, then chip seal them, and there is no traffic volume on them. If there's 10, 15, 20 houses on a cul-de-sac or the road, I think we could work with that rating.
So where are you at for
I think if
a
we
number?
leave it at the 200 for now, the lump sum.
Okay,
And are you suggesting that when we do the operating budget that we look for increasing our street maintenance then, if we're gonna do our own patching?
I think it would help us immensely, because yeah, asphalt's not gonna go down.
Can I ask to bring up Jerry and maybe talk to him about how he does his patching? I don't know if he has the equipment. I can't tell you that, but maybe he can help you with that.
We can work with that.
We're not an asphalt crew. We don't really have the equipment. I don't know what you mean by patching. What do you mean?
Well, if like the garbage trucks, they usually mess up the side of a road or where they pull by somebody's driveway, you just have to take area and,
Yeah,
Put a
small
little-
patches we
right,
can do. We can
right.
handle that. But like I say, we're not, we don't have the equipment nor the manpower to, roller.
Right.
Whatever. We don't have a paver or anything like that. So we're limited to hand tools, plate compactor. It's all manual labor. We're really not geared for that. We're a pretty small crew.
Do you feel $200,000 for a paving budget is adequate for next year?
No, I don't. I really don't. You don't get a lot for $200,000. We're looking at a mile of road, you're looking at to pulverize, reshape, and do the whole work, you're looking at about almost $180,000. There's your whole budget for 1 mile of road. I agree with the patching part of it. We could save some money instead of paving, like I did on Merrill Hills last year. I had them do some patches. I had Paint and Dole do some patches. We flex patched and crack filled it. We saved the road. I mean, it was probably, and I don't agree with your Paisley rating, I gotta be honest with you. I've looked at a lot of I-value, look at them every year. That's done by the engineering firm. And I think what they do is they look at the road and they go by how old it is. And it's almost like an appraiser does. The house up down the street sold for X amount of dollars. That's what it gets appraised at. I don't agree with the ratings. I mean, I'll look at a road and I'll say, they got it at a 6. I go, that thing is shot,
Does Paisley include a visual inspection?
Yes.
Yes.
part of the problem with the Pazer though is we do have chip sealed roads that were chipped 50 years ago, and that's all there is for a base, correct?
Well,
Like
you got
Green
tar and
Country?
pea gravel roads, basically.
Right.
You don't have a base, and that's, the roads in the town, back in the day, weren't set up for 80,000 pound garbage trucks to run down them.
Right.
And that's where your problem's coming in. Our new roads, you build them to the road spec, they hold up. So, I mean, I did a patch on Glendale Road, and I don't think you had probably an inch of asphalt underneath it. That's it. It's tar and pea gravel underneath it. It was the same with like Creston Lois. They gave it a good Paisley rating, but that road was so old, there's nothing there. Every time the garbage truck hits its brakes, he crushed through the asphalt. That's why, we used to do, me and Mike used to do this. We go out and kind of look at the roads and stuff, and you come up with a road plan, but it's better just to put a number in there, because this road really went to heck this year, and we gotta replace it, or we gotta do something with it, But $200,000 doesn't go very far. I agree with the patching part of it. I mean, we'll do what we can do. And some roads, it's like, okay, you got a bad section, okay, let's patch it, It's kind of a Band-Aid, but, and as far as the slag sealing goes, I'm a firm believer in that. I really like it, I really like it.
So this year was the first year we were gonna do the overlays, and then that just didn't work out as well as we anticipated, is that correct?
Well, we can do overlays.
And that's much
If-
cheaper than pulverize and repave?
Exactly, yeah, a mill and overlay is way cheaper. And that works. That way you use your base and.
Just a quick thing for what it's worth, if you're looking at numbers, and Kathy just punched it through here on the Excel spreadsheet. If you take, then you might want to write these down, but total amount for, oh, you put it up there already? There you go. Total amount for the roads. Now, we didn't do everything on the 2019 list, but she put them up there. I mean, if you look at 2019, 20, what is it, 265,000 plus 2021 is 245 almost, and 2022 is 233 or 234, and apparently, the way we're carrying this now, our plan did not extend out to 23 and 24, is that right? Obviously didn't do 24, but the plan that we're carrying now for 19 through 23 did not extend anything into 23 for roads, is that fair?
That's correct.
So it gives you a little
We
bit
thought
of
it
idea of the
was,
scale of the numbers.
Giving actual roads for 5 years out, giving the lump sum still allows us to do roads, but we could not name roads 5 years out on which ones should be done, and that was with the work of Rupert Milkie giving us the numbers. Estimating something 5 years out is best not to do it road per road.
I'm of the opinion that 200,000 should be 300,000.
I won't support 300, you might take me to 250, but I won't go 300.
I think short of that, we're just fooling ourselves.
Who else wants to weigh in?
With the bypass being completed, are we gonna pick up some more roads now for sure, or what's the status on that as of late?
A quick thing, the Merrill Hills Road, and there are segments of that are left, okay? North of Sunset and where it's intercepted by the bypass, between the intersection with the bypass at MacArthur Road, and then north of MacArthur Road where it's intercepted again. We've been having discussions with the county, and I think we mentioned that briefly when they ask about renaming of the roads, okay? They want us to take a jurisdictional transfer and accept those roads. I mean, a couple issues with it, and Mike and Jim probably remember we discussed that several years ago. One of the difficulties is MacArthur North is, I don't know, do you remember that, Jim or Mike? I think it's more like 1,600 or 1,700 feet. Our ordinance limits that to 1,320. That's an issue that it would have to be resolved. They want to effect that jurisdictional transfer as soon as possible. Part of the previous position of the town board has been bring those up to town road standard conditions before we do it. There's a little discussion going on about what damage has taken place, whether we contribute to that or not. I mean, that's a future decision facing the town board, whether the transfer occurs, and if it does, on what terms. So it's a little bit lengthy, but thank you. The answer is, at least the request has been made there for the jurisdictional transfer.
I guess my question was, are we gonna have an additional cost in a certain date in this next year or the year after to maintain those roads? And are they gonna need maintenance? Are they gonna fix them before they turn them over to us?
Well, the answer is hopefully yes to the last part of it. That's not resolved at this point in time.
Okay, I guess I can support 250 also. I know we could do better. I have no doubt about that, but we do need, I mean, listening to Jerry talking about overlays now, you say that works and that's much cheaper than.
It is.
I always wondered why we got every road out first and redo it. I mean, I think that is expensive. So if we can save some money by doing some more overlays versus, grinding and redoing it, I
Okay.
think that's the way to go.
You're in at 250, Mike's in at 300, I'm in at 250. I'm not sure, David or Jim, are you guys in yet?
Well, I could throw 500 out there, but I'll go to the 250.
500 for 3 years? Jim?
Doesn't much matter, you got three, that doesn't cover what we've got listed for 2020, so.
All right, well, looks like 250. Do you want to extend that on out for the 5 years, or do you want to do something different? Guess I'd weigh in on extending that out for 5 years.
Well, I think it should be, I don't support the 250 for 2020 or 2021. It is what it is. But I would say then you go to 300 for 22, 23, and 24. Somebody think roads are gonna get cheaper or stay the same?
Go up. But if we also look at it that way, we can't judge anything on here.
Well, that's why I asked the question about the engine to the chief, and he was comfortable with it. That was the only other issue I recall. I suppose we could have asked it about the ambulance.
All right, let's go year by year then. We nailed down 2020. 2021, I'm in at 250. What does anybody else want?
Well, common sense tells me that it should go up. I'm sure
Okay.
asphalt's not gonna go down, nothing's going down, so I think we need to up it to 50,000 in those last
You want 300?
Yeah.
Okay.
So 2021, in what year is 300? I'm sorry.
He's at 2021.
2022.
22, 23, and 24.
Oh, you're at 2022.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
where we?
Kind of what,
Well, that's fine.
what Mike said.
Okay, so you want to go up in 2022 to 300? Everybody else okay with that? I can live with that. So 250 for 2020 and 2021, 300 for 2022, 23, and 24. Are we all on board with that? Okay, then let's move on. DPW bucket truck 2015-41. You get those numbers in, right?
Yep.
All right. Speak.
Are we on the bucket truck now?
We are.
I would like to push that out, and if we have a problem with certifying it, you can deal with it at that point, and we can rent a bucket truck for the season if it needs to be done. In my opinion, I guess, I'm
How far do you want to push it out?
till it breaks.
Okay.
Well,
60 feet in there.
careful how you say that. Because when it breaks,
I get to
and your man is
retire.
35 feet in the air,
I
next-
was being facetious. What I meant is when
Well,
it can't be certified any longer,
I
to me, that's
understand you're
broke.
saying
And that's what
that.
Jerry says, it gets
That's
certified
why
every
it gets
spring.
certified, Mike.
When it's not certified any longer, that to me is broke. So that's when it gets replaced, or we rent another truck.
you're
for the-
talking to a guy who deals with a lot of bucket trucks.
Well, I deal with a lot of equipment, so I mean, and I know what you're saying, so it's the same program.
And pretty sure OSHA has a different view when they knock on your door than when they knock on mine.
All right, your suggestion, you want to push that out a year, 2 years? I know you said until it, off the chart, where do you want to go with it?
You got my opinion. I think when it's not certified any longer, we replace it.
Okay, I'll go with that. What's anybody else got?
So just so we understand, that means it's taken off the chart?
If that's the verbiage, I guess that's right. We take it
I
off the
just-
chart.
And it's either gonna go in one of the columns or it's off. If we're gonna wait until it's certified, then it would be off until we need it.
I'm
to put
comfortable
back
with
on.
that. I think Jerry said that it's all right now. It works good and everything runs good. But,
Yeah.
but you said it. I understand what you're saying, though, but when that time comes, if it comes in 2022, then
What do you
we
do
deal
then?
with it at that point. We either rent the truck for the year until we find one to buy, or amend our budget is what the right word I guess I'm trying to say.
I don't have an issue with that, it's just, the capital plan is kind of a planning forecast as to knowing that it has to be replaced in the future. To think that a 1988 bucket truck's gonna last beyond 2024, I think we're kind of fooling ourselves. And this at least leaves us a place to allocate the money to take care of it when it does die. I mean, I get it, you can rent one for a year, but it doesn't delay it any longer than about a year.
So Jim, that makes some sense. You got a year in mind.
I would push it out maybe till 21 or 22, but I don't think it should be off the charts completely.
Mike, David?
Well, jumping ahead a little bit here, I'd soon see do something with the bucket truck, but leave the chipper alone. I know I jumped ahead, but
So you want to leave it in, you want to leave the bucket in,
I'd like to leave it 2020. just 'cause I wouldn't wanna be 40 feet up in the air on any given day, but not alone. But the chipper, it is old, but if it's chipping wood,
I'll go 2022 on the bucket. What's anybody else want? We had a couple people weigh in. Bob's take it off. Jim, you were 2021 or 2022. David's keep it in 20. Mike?
I'll go 22.
if you guys are gonna keep it on, I'll settle with it 2021 or 22 then.
Sounds like we got an idea.
Can we get around 2022 then? All right, the backhoe, 2018-5.
Leave it.
I'm fine with that also.
It's probably the highest piece of priority equipment you got.
Gotta have it.
If they use it for loading salt and whatnot, leave it.
Everybody on board with that?
I'll agree to that also.
Works for me. All right, the 2000.
Consensus.
What's that? Yeah. Keep going. It might be 6-0 on one of these. The 2005 DPW truck for 2022, $165,000.
Do you remember what we paid for those trucks from Jefferson County, Jerry?
A little over 70,000.
74,000.
Where did we get this one from? The 2005 DPW truck? What's the source of that? Was that used from someplace?
Yeah, it was up around Marshfield, somewhere up in that area.
How long ago did we get that? Do you know?
Oh, it's probably on it's gotta be its fifth season, I would say.
It's what?
Fifth season.
So we bought that used too?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I would say that we take this from 165 to 100, as used plow trucks have served us very well.
The used trucks, they do have a lot more stainless steel on them nowadays, so I would be on board with Mike on that.
So you want to leave it at 2022 for now and reduce it to 100,000, Mike?
Right?
I can support that. What's anybody else got?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'll support that also.
Okay.
We got a majority.
What's that?
We got a majority.
We have another 5-0 on that. That's tremendous. All right, the 1998 zero-turn mower.
Gets us $65,000 to the closer to the 2.8 million that we gotta
We're making progress. Just keep going.
be out of here by 8 o'clock in the morning.
We get this meeting done, shut the lights off, we'll have all kinds of extra money. All right, the zero-turn mower, what's the pleasure of the group on that?
Move it to 2022. If it breaks, worry about it then.
I can
It's
support
a
that.
$15,000 lawnmower. We ought to be able to figure it out.
So Mike's on 2022,
I
I'll
agree with
join.
that. I agree with that.
That's,
We're not going 5-0 again, are we?
I'll be fine with that also.
Holy cow, all right. The 1989 10-inch chipper. What's the pleasure on that?
2023, based on the same train of thought.
All right, I'll get on board with that.
I'm good with that too. I guess if the chipper breaks down, we just don't chop any more wood for a while, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Or
this,
we rent one, or we buy one. I mean,
Exactly.
Deal with it at the time.
okay. Anybody object to that?
I'll support that.
Looks like 4 in a row at 5-0. We're gonna fall apart soon. The tractor and the flail ditch mower, Bob, you had some thoughts about that when we worked back through it a while ago?
Yeah, we were talking about replacing the tractor, and I'll be honest with you, I just priced a 100-horse tractor that had, he was used one for $36,000. That was
And
just the tractor.
You're donating that to the town?
No, your mic's not working over there.
Oh, it's maybe my ears.
No, I just happened to price when we were just kind of shopping a little bit, and you can get a 100-horse John Deere for that money. I don't know what the mowers cost though, Jerry. You got a better handle on probably what the flail mowers cost, because we don't use those, so.
I really don't know exactly what the mowers are either. Like I say, I had one guy that was gonna give me a price. I don't know if you remember when Tractor Loader was there.
Right.
And, he wouldn't give me he didn't wanna give me a price. He said, I'm not throwing, new mowers under an old tractor. So that's as far as it went. I got some prices to, in fact, I even had it shipped out. I took the cutter reel out of it and had it shipped out, out east. And they dorked me around so bad, I had them send it back. We patched it back together. We're still using it. So I don't know if I could get something fabricated. I mean, the housing's
You know, to
good.
be honest with you, Jerry, I wouldn't even mess with that anymore. I would like to see it replaced
We
completely.
sent it all the way to New York one time,
Yeah, I
and
know.
couldn't get it fixed.
Right, I said we
Sat
dinked
there
around
and
it long
I
enough
had
here. I
them
think it's
sent
time to
it,
just
yeah.
replace it and get something you can use, because they take a beating. I mean, I see what you guys go through and what you cut with those things, and it's a hard life those things lead, so.
You know, the rear
The
flail.
tractor, like I said before, I have confidence that that tractor could go as long as another mower would go. But I mean,
So do you want to change this to read, replace flail ditch mower and take the replace tractor out of the description and put a different number on it? Is that what
I
you're
guess
suggesting?
that's where I'm heading. That would be my recommendation. I mean, I don't know what the rest of the board, if they want a new tractor or to go with that. We have, I think I looked at that day when we were looking at the mower and stuff, I think we got like 4,500 hours on that
Yeah,
tractor.
about 5,000.
5,000 now. I think I've got tractors at home with 10,000 hours on them and they're still running good. So
Man.
I just think,
You guys have got more expertise in this area than I do. I mean, I'll
I
listen
don't
to
know, I'm not gonna
recommendations.
predict that this thing's gonna go 10,000 hours. I don't know what kind of care it's had in between now and then, but
But the fallback position for this town board or future town boards, if the thing, I mean, craps out completely, I mean, then you may have to go to another alternative, right? So, do you have an? you gotta
I don't
throw
have a
something-
number. I guess that's my question to where Jerry was. I don't know if he had ever priced it,
I
maybe
don't have a
not,
number
so.
for you. mean,
I don't know
could
what a
get
mower
number for
alone
you. I could
costs.
probably call around and get you a number.
The back mower on there is fine though, right? I mean,
Yeah, that's fine.
yeah, it's just the arm side mower, whatever you wanna call it. I
I
believe it
mean,
just should
can
be
we
replaced.
come up with a educated guess for that number?
Oh, I think for 12 grand, you should find a mower.
I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
No, because the mowers, it comes as a unit with the undercarriage, the arm and everything like that.
15 or 20? I mean,
I
pick a
don't think you
number.
would do it for 20. Yeah, maybe 20. I'm guessing, so I'd have to get a price for you.
So what is this $65,000 that's on here then? Where does that from? What does that include?
That's just-
Tractor and a mower?
Yeah, that's probably for something used that you wouldn't get anything new for that. There's no way.
Well, then you're saying 25 grand won't even get you a mower?
A zero-turn mower for mowing the park is $15,000. You know,
I think we could cut that one in half. We'd probably be safe.
For a mower alone, Dave?
You're
tractor and the
talking
mower.
just for the
Oh, just for
mower.
the mower,
Yeah, not the tractor.
right?
So are we crossing
I think
out
you could do that, too.
replace tractor and just have it say replace flail ditch mower?
Yes, replace flail ditch mower.
Okay.
Just before we move on, I think
Yeah,
we're
go.
crazy to put a new mower on that tractor, or a newer mower on that tractor. I think if we can't afford a new tractor and new mower, I think we would be prudent to at least move up substantially in years on the tractor. If it has low hours, like you say, that makes it more valuable on the secondary market.
Maybe.
I just, hanging it on that old of a tractor. We're gonna hang it on there and 18 months later, what do you got?
Well, you're doing the same thing though when you say you're gonna buy a new mower and might be a used tractor. You're doing the same thing. You're buying another used tractor and you're getting a crapshoot there too. You don't know if you're buying somebody else's problem. This way we got the one you got, you know what that one is. So if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna put a new mower on and you're questioning whether you should put it on a used tractor, then put it on a new tractor. I think that's what this was, a new tractor and more when we bought that rig, wasn't it?
That was brand new.
Yeah. I mean, that was bought, Rod was chairman then at that point, right? Yeah.
Do you want to leave that in place the way it is for now?
I'd suggest you leave it and get some better research on it, but leave it there as a placeholder so we've got something.
So leave the 65,000 in 2022. So we can move on. Is everybody comfortable with that for tonight?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Another 5-0. All right, 2011, 2019-11, 2007 DPW plow single axle truck, 165,000 in 2023.
Leave it at 110.
You want that at 110 and leave it in that year?
I'll be on board with that.
I'll support that. What about the,
That's what we did with the other one, I'm fine with that.
all right, you bump that up
Inflation.
10 grand,
Yeah.
okay? All right, then about, and we gotta make sure we understand this is for 2019-12 is for, and that's the Jefferson County trucks, right?
That's correct.
So, Mike, you got something you wanna do with that?
220?
220 and leave it in 2024?
Yeah.
I can support that. Anybody else?
I'll support that.
I'm good with it.
Out.
Okay. New salt shed. We've been banging around on that for a long period of time. I put the number in there. I just threw a placeholder. I put that over on 164, but that's in at $400,000 for 2022. Again, we've had the discussion a bit, and I don't know, Kathy, do you want to just even update discussion we did have with the county, what, 5 weeks ago, a month ago, something like that, about salt storage at the county? Maybe a good time just to update people what you thought that conversation ended
So,
up being.
we spoke with the county about a new salt shed, or about, their new salt shed. They've got a new salt shed coming in, with, the state paying for it. They are gonna have a different way of ticketing, and weighing. So it will not be, a bucket weight, it'll actually be a drive-over weight. The tickets will, the idea is that our guys would punch in the number, we'd know which truck came in and came out, so, we'd know which ones were ours. At this point, they're okay with us staying there. They didn't give us any date on when they were staying there, and then we got into a pretty large discussion about, maybe moving to using liquid. What they do is they use less salt by putting down the liquid brine. And so we got into that discussion because we have three trucks that came with brine tanks. I understand from Jerry, only one is really set up to be used. So we kind of talked a little bit about that as a possible way of saving a little bit of salt money and trying out using a brine. As much, we can still buy the brine from them. They suggested that whatever we build in the future, that we do consider the brine tank, because that's the way of the future, is starting to use that, using less salt, and since salt is so expensive, as well as hard to get at times, they suggest to go with the brine. They believe that the brine works very well. So that's kind of our discussion. They did say that they'd be willing to sit down with Jerry, bring his truck over, set it all up, help him figure out what the percentages would be, and so that was kind of our discussion.
I think, if I'm correct, I think they said they store about 7,000 tons of salt for 14 different
Municipalities.
entities other than the county. Am I close on that? I might not be
think so,
exacting.
yeah.
And I think they said are we one of the top 2 in terms of volume of salt that they store
Yes.
for anyone. They didn't, at least my reading of it, they didn't give us, I didn't get a reading from them that they're, our welcome mat is about to be pulled away soon. I didn't get that idea, but these are policy decisions. So, I mean, I think what we've got to figure out, and we've been grappling with this for several years, there's multiple questions with this. Do we need our own salt storage facility? I personally think we do. Then the question is a bit about where it is. This says over on Highway 164. I mean, that could be discussed, but ultimately it's how much money and where to put it into a capital plan. So there's about 4 or 5 moving parts there.
So I do want to add one more thing about the salt shed. During the discussion on the town board, I was asked by Supervisor Radke to go ahead and ask Workman if they had a facility that, if at their facility they'd be able to store our salt and what the costs are. I'm expecting a number from them. He sounded very willing to do something like that for us. Being a partner of ours, they do have some area for storage, indoor storage. They just would have to see how they would move things around. So he was going to get back to me on a cost for that.
Just one comment on it. I think that, and we'll see what that number is. That's potentially a gracious offer we might want to look at. My personal belief is that's not a long-term solution for the town of Waukesha.
What happens if we lose the contractor?
Well, that's my point.
Well,
We have it for 3 years.
Well,
I
what
think
hap-
this is our first opportunity to take real money out of our problem. We've had a process underway with the county for some time that has worked well. It sounds like it's gonna get better. We got a contractor that we have, do we have a 3-year contract with them now?
Well, it's coming back at the next meeting for the
Okay.
final
So we
approval.
have a contractor that we will likely have a 3-year contract with. The other thing that occurs to me is I think we should get together with Genesee and maybe put something formal in writing, and lease some space from that shed they built at Sunset Park. That thing is a monstrosity. And it might help them defer some of the costs of what they sunk into it. That thing is a monstrosity. There is no way that they're gonna use salt out of that facility at a rate that it can't be replenished at times of the year when trucking is readily available. And I don't think we should do it on the back of an envelope. I think we should approach them. I think we should offer a fair price to store salt and put something on paper. But I think this is our first opportunity to take real money, or to take a real chunk out of essentially $3 million problem that we have.
So if the board decides to go in that direction, I'd be happy to work with Jeff, the administrator over there, to get some numbers to you.
I guess I'll just comment, I'm not opposed at looking at alternatives, but at this point in time, if you're looking at costs and so forth, I mean, we don't store at the county for free. What do they charge us? $10 a ton or something like that to handle it? I mean, that ends up being, over time, a significant amount of money. I mean, Jerry and Mike or others could talk to it. They do it, I don't, but I mean, to chase to Grandview all the time, and I mean, we basically got shut out of Highway I, as I understand it, pretty much. I mean, to go there, to be dependent on other people for loading. I mean, Workman, you know, a nice offer maybe in a pinch, but they're over in New Berlin. I mean, my belief is it's inefficient and everything to be chasing those distances. I think there's even some inefficiency in chasing to Genesee to go and get salt. That's my point of view. I think, let me just finish,
Well,
okay?
you're throwing about, 6 or 7
What's-
issues out. I want to be able to get to them all.
Location, there's one issue.
Okay, so Sunset Park is less than 10 minutes from this facility. It is. So that's not that far. In the last 5 years, how many times have we gone to Highway I facility and been told that we either can't have salt or had to wait more than 10 minutes.
All last year, we couldn't get salt there. at
They
all.
wouldn't give us any salt when we
Well, the
went there.
first part of the year, like the first maybe 3 events, then they shut us down.
Okay,
So the county, I just want
So we had to go to
to
Grandview.
quick let you know, one of the things I forgot to mention was the county said we could only get salt from the Grandview from now on.
okay.
Okay.
I do not believe, and Jim, you're probably more in touch with this, that they're charging us $10 a ton for storage.
No, the storage was free, actually. They didn't charge
Yeah.
for the storage. The handling they charged.
Okay, so what was
The
that?
storage part was free. Offhand, I don't remember.
It wasn't in the neighborhood of $10 a
Yeah,
ton, was it?
it's $10. That's what we just changed. When the stuff we have in there right now, we paid $10 a ton for them, for that to be stored, and they're handling back and forth.
So our state contract got it to us in round numbers at $69 a ton.
Right, but remember, we're not getting it from the state. We get it from the county. So the
No, I
county
realize
buys it
that.
through, and so whatever the county
So they were
upcharges
charging us
us.
$79 a ton?
I don't remember what our was last year. I'm just saying, what we bought afterwards, we purchased ourselves, and we put in their,
Yes.
storage unit. They charged us $10 a ton to store and handle that.
That I understand, but that
Okay.
is different than what we got when we purchased from the state contract. That was a situation where we ran out of salt, right? Okay, so in the year, that's the first time since I was involved in the board that had happened. I know it's happened in other years, but so over the course of 5 years, that was the first time. The salt that we buy at the beginning of the year that we commit to, and we pay $69 a ton for, under the state contract.
Around that number.
Yeah, around that number. There's some sense there, but let's just. Does the county then charge us $79 a ton?
Cannot tell you if the county charges us how much above the state contract. They give us the number on what they're charging us. We don't get the number from the state. We get the number from the county, and whatever the county gets it from the state, they upcharge. I just don't know what that upcharge is.
Okay,
But to be clear on that, there isn't any storage charge because none of it carries over. So if you order 2,000 ton and you use
Right.
1,500, you don't keep 500 ton there in storage for the next year. It just
I
goes
guess
into the
I don't
pool.
care whether you call it storage or handling. Call
So-
it potato, call it potato, I don't care.
So
Okay,
this,
but-
this,
I mean, we haven't done anything in this budget, in this plan, I should say. We have done nothing to address the fact that we're almost $3 million short. All we've done is shuffle things around. Now, we took 110, 110 plus 55 plus, what did we take out of the other one? Plus 65. We took that out. Okay? Can't see that far. And it's off on the, so, what is that, 200,000, 250,000? We've taken 250,000 out of a $3 million problem. When are we gonna hit the $3 million problem? Or are we just gonna ignore that and let some other board deal with it?
I mean, I agree, it would be great to have our own salt shed. It's all right here, hopefully here and not over on 164, but here where they can do it, but you're paying somebody that has to load it, whether it's our guys that load it here, or if it's the county guys that load it at the county shed, somebody still has to pay that cost. I think that's irregardless, but you're talking $400,000 that you can at least delay beyond this page to 2025 and maybe even farther. And remember, part of the fact is that Workman does about half of our routes right now.
Yeah, a little less than half.
So if they're gonna build a salt shed or at least have storage there, half of the salt is right there where they start their day. They don't have to travel to go somewhere else.
Well, that's well said, but I,
So part of the
okay,
whole
good.
reason to do this from the beginning was that the county said they were tired of dealing with us. And then they went and they got some state money and they built a new salt shed, and now it's like we're the best friends in the world because we're helping them with that. And let's not forget, part of that state money is ours. So initially, this was put on here as kind of a rush because we were running out of time as to what we were gonna do with salt. And now that doesn't seem to be an issue. The county wants this, and Workman wants this.
I guess talking to the Workman thing, I talked to Austin Workman the other day, okay? He's mighty anxious to try to get the contract resolved, which is not yet done, okay? I talked to him about salt storage. What he told me is if this is something the town wanted, they would build a new building, and they would move some of their dumpster business into the new building and then use the building where they've got the dumpster business in to store our salt. He's gonna come up with a price on that. Maybe it'll be real attractive. Maybe it'll be, you gotta be kidding me. I'm not gonna bet the ranch on that as being a short-term or long-term solution for the town of Waukesha at all, because we don't even have that number. We're sitting on September 19th here. Snow may be flying soon, and we have no idea what that is. So from my point of view, we go back and forth. This is a plan. I still think we should have a provision in the plan. You can pick the number and pick the year, but to build a salt storage facility for the town of Waukesha so we can control our own destiny and not be dependent on Waukesha County, Town of Genesee, Workman Enterprises, or whatever. I think we need to be able to control our own destiny. That's
Mr.
my point of view.
Chairman, we have 3 items to go.
Yes?
Where are we going to address the $3 million that we're short?
Well, let's get through it and see where we're at. Okay?
Okay, I'm for getting rid of the salt shed.
I say scrap the salt shed as well.
I say keep it. It's a plan.
How big of a shed is that you're anticipating? How many ton to hold? 400,000?
I don't know. I mean, I tossed a number in there. We were carrying 350 before. But if you want to trim that back, I think if we're going to do it, my personal belief is that we ought to be able to store a season's worth of salt. I know there may be difference of opinion on that. The cost to build something to hold 1,000 tons it's less than double to hold 500. The cost to store 1,500 tons is far less than 3 times that. I think we need to be able to store a season's worth of salt. We took it in the shorts last year and spent, what, almost $30,000 because we were short on salt.
Well, but that didn't have anything to do with the fact that we didn't have salt storage.
Oh, it did, because
No,
if
it
we'd
did
have our
not.
own salt
No, it
storage,
did not,
we could have
Chairman.
had sufficient,
No,
wouldn't
it
have to
did
go pay a
not.
premium price and have it
If-
bring it up from Illinois. That's what they did.
No, it did not. It had to do with what we thought we were gonna need, and the weather changed. If we would have had a 2,000-ton salt storage out in the middle of the park, we would have still likely only had bought the 1,700 tons that we bought. So the fact that we had to go on the open market, as everyone else did in the state of Wisconsin, and pay a premium price had nothing to do with the fact that we didn't have salt storage.
I
Nothing.
absolutely disagree,
Well, then
totally.
So, okay, let's move here.
Okay, I'm at leaving a placeholder in there for 2022. If you want to reduce the amount of money on that, I'm willing to have that discussion. I think we need to leave at least a placeholder in a plan for a new salt shed.
I'll agree, we should have our own shed. We can leave that amount there for now.
Okay, so we're 2-2. Supervisor?
Does anybody know what Genesee's shed cost them?
350,000.
350, and does anybody know what the capacity of that shed?
Isn't it like 1,500 or something? I don't remember.
It's 2,000
2,000.
2,000?
Tons?
ton.
They have about exactly the same amount of road miles as we do. It's within a whisker.
I just think 400, I was in the ballpark at 350 when we had that, and I thought that was out of sight, but I mean, I look at that building, and I
Premium
don't,
stuff, man, all shiny, brand new.
it's just made out of wood in my book.
It's the way
I
to
just-
go, right?
My sense, I'll just respond to that. My sense is the most economical way to build that, and we could probably trim that number back, is you basically build it into the side of the hill on the new property kind of thing as a bunker, and you build it out of concrete, you'll build it for less than that.
There's my issue with the concrete, I guess. Salt eats up concrete. Am I wrong, Dave, or not? I mean, I don't know what you guys store, how you do that, but I always thought wood would be the better
Depends on the mix of concrete. Wood, they're having issues with the treated wood that it's only lasting a certain amount of years.
So there's really nothing good out there is gonna, no matter what we build, is gonna last.
Technically, no, it's salt.
Yeah, salt, yeah. Okay, how does this brine thing fit into this salt shed thing? If we're gonna go brine, we gotta have liquid tanks to store that in, or how does that work? Or is that mixed on this site with water?
I don't think that we'd be benefiting off of brine. The county uses brine due to traffic volume. The cars break up the salt so fast. And the brine, what it does is it helps it get a start. It's a liquid salt that they put on, it melts the snow right away, gets it instantly. Being a township that we only do hills, curves, intersections, I don't believe that we benefit from brine.
That's basically what described. Mike or Jerry, you guys got any thoughts or opinions on that? Might as well jump in.
The county is pre-wetting their roads. I mean, there's pre-treating your salt and there's pre-wetting your roads. And from what I see, and I travel county roads every time it snows, I mean, maybe for their bridges and overpasses and whatnot, it would be a benefit. But for subdivisions and stuff like that, I don't see the savings. I really don't. In the trucks that we have, you wouldn't be able to pre-wet the roads. They're not, the ones we have, it pre-treats, it pre-wets your salt as it goes out. The only benefit to it is it will take your salt down to a lower melting temperature. So you can melt at, 0 or whatever like that. I really don't see the big savings. I know the guy from the county ran it and raved about it, but I'm not seeing it. So I forget what it is. I think it's real cheap a gallon. It's like 13 cents a gallon or whatever. It's not that expensive. I don't know that our trucks are really geared for that. I know the white truck, all the electric's been taken out of it, so.
Yeah.
I actually think it'd be more trouble than it's worth. I really do.
Mike, you got any thoughts or not? You don't have to say anything, but you got any
I
thoughts?
mean, I'll go over to the county and talk to the guy and get some more input on it, but my personal opinion, I don't think it's a big savings.
Okay, I guess I'd go 350 on that. 400,000 scares me.
Okay. 350 at 2022?
350.
I can go with that. All right. That's it. Okay, we're down to the last items, extending out 4 or 5 years to Public Works Building and Village Hall on State Trunk Highway 164. I tossed those numbers in for some design professional money in 23 and structures over there in 2024. Thoughts about either one of those?
Well, I'll start it off. I don't support either of them. They should be scrapped.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is the 80,000 to do studies first or engineering and all that, is that what that money's appropriated for in the beginning? Or is that part of the total cost, or what's the deal?
Yes, yes.
I'll support that.
I'll support that also.
Okay, unless there's anything to double back to, can you take and run paper copy of this?
I got a question on that. Why is the village hall coming out of the why is that in the public works budget? Shouldn't that be separate?
This is a capital project plan for everything that's a town. I mean, it's town hall, it's fire department, it's public works, it's all
Well,
capital
you got the fire
projects.
station, that's separate, you know, you don't
Well-
have village hall on there.
This was one concept, and there are others, would be to build the fire station first. So the fire station with living quarters would be moved off the property here, and then the Public Works Department would move into the fire station. The town hall component would stay here, and they would stay here for some period of time. And one part of the vision on that is one day, new facilities would be built for them, for Public Works and the Village Hall over on the new properties, and this property would be sold.
Okay.
$3.2 million short. That's not bad.
Okay, any further discussion on this for tonight? And this will be up for discussion and action, and you can reflect on it in the next week,
Well,
make changes to it, but we're gonna have to approve a 2020 to 2024 capital plan a week from tonight.
is it our intention to approve a capital plan that's $3 million short?
We have to approve a capital plan, yeah. A week from tonight. And I guess I would just answer it that way. I mean, this is a plan looking forward. There certainly will be opportunities going forth for future boards, future town residents to change the plan, portions of it, delay implementation of portions of the plan, borrow. Those are all options going forward that people can take a look at.
So, just so I'm clear in my head, we would be comfortable as a board approving a capital plan that we have absolutely no idea how we're gonna fund, and leave it to some board in the future to figure out?
No, I think I just
That kinda
answered.
sounds like the federal government.
No, I think I just answered that question. I mean, this is part of the reason we went through some of it. Change portions of the plan, delay implementation or borrowing. There are options there, and there's gonna be, let's face it, there's gonna be some tough decisions to make going forward. There's no question about it.
But do we anticipate resolving those issues before we approve the plan, I guess is my question.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
I don't.
I could never support a capital plan that we have no idea of how to pay for. If you go through and back to our original discussion on the whole land purchase and how that affects this, if you take 2019, 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, and 15, that's almost $5 million, 4.947800. And if you got rid of all of that nonsense of moving over to Highway 164, and you spent $1 million on a bunkhouse and $600,000 on a DPW garage and a salt shed, you got a balanced budget and something that we could actually support. But I can't and I won't support this today, and I won't support it at the next meeting unless you've got some grand idea of how you're gonna pay for it. So since we're not officially at a meeting, we don't need a motion to adjourn. I don't
That's
see
true.
any reason to sit here, so goodbye.
Good night.
Do we want to, in next week's agenda, do we want to put something on for capital budget workshop after the meeting?
Yeah, Kathy's got a good question here, and I mean, let's look forward, guys. We need to put together a capital budget, and we need to put together an operating budget, and we probably need a workshop about those, and maybe those should follow on to our meeting next week. That's a suggestion.
I was suggesting we put it at, a workshop at the end of the next meetings. If the meetings run too long, you can always not do the workshop. But if we happen to get through the meetings at a faster clip than we have been, we might be able to start working on kind of the discussion you had today in the same kind of manner for the capital budget and then the operating budget as well.
I mean, what's the plan with this for next, do we have to approve this budget next
Yes.
week, right?
So
Yeah.
the plan, the plan you are to approve a plan before I can do the budget, obviously, the capital budget. Before I can do the operating budget, I need the capital budget done. Depending on what you do that night, we'd be able to go into a workshop and move forward. I would make some assumptions to start the discussion, but
Well, I think the assumption that you make, and the budget is just for 1 year, the assumption that you make is that we need a capital budget that basically anticipates the $787,800 in spending, right? And that's what
That's
you're gonna
correct.
build a capital budget around. So we need to talk then, assuming that the capital plan is approved during the meeting next week. We need to talk about a capital budget in a workshop probably following the meeting. And we need probably at least take a first pass at an operating budget then too. Because that has to all be done by the 14th of October, right?
Correct.
So is everybody up for that, if we can move it along and make it happen?
Still allows you to not do the, if we notice it, you can still not have it if we're running into, 10 o'clock or midnight, to get out of here. But if we don't notice it, we can't do that.
Well, it's just a number, 10 o'clock. I mean, I'm fine with doing
I
it.
mean, we gotta get this done.
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter if we sit here till 4 o'clock in the morning, because if we don't do it a week from tonight,
There you go.
when are we gonna do it?
So you're good with it, Mike?
I'm fine
I
with
don't
it.
see how we have any choice.
Good.